Over the course of this YouTube channel, I have done various videos on the Staghorn sumac, and this is going to be one more video to add to that collection. I've been able to use this Staghorn sumac in a bunch of different ways, and I'm continuing to realize more attributes that it has to offer to the local landscape, especially when we talk about gardening or agriculture or mushroom production, things like that. And in this video, I really want to add a new slant on the Staghorn sumac, specifically talking about how it can help with natural pest control out in the field. So I'm finding that the Staghorn sumac is a pretty good attractant to some birds, right? And kind of more so than what I was expecting, actually. And in this video, I really want to focus on these two birds. These are the most common that I find in my area, and I've made some interesting observations related to these two bird species. First off, we have the American robin, right? So in a basic sense, the Staghorn sumac will provide a kind of a low-lying canopy layer that the robin can find a sense of safety and protection in, especially if that canopy layer of sumac is dense enough, right? And so, of course, that would be protection from some of the terrestrial predators like the fox, cats, you know, whatever the case may be, but also from some of the avian predators like the hawks and owls. But specifically, the American robin, I found, really uses the Staghorn sumac as a pretty popular nesting site. And even, like, I'll prune the sumac trees each year, and then they'll start to sprout out the next year from that base trunk, and then the robin will actually like build their own nest as these shoots are continuing to grow out. Last year, some of my sumac stands were getting tall enough to the point of being like 2 to 3 years old or so, where the robin started to actually use it as a nesting site. And now this year I've had like 3 or 4 different robin nests on my like 1/4 acre to 1/3 acre garden. It's not that big, so that was really cool to be able to support that life while I'm still, you know, growing crops in that area as well. And so I'm not just supporting the life of this robin, right? It's actually really beneficial because the American robin also goes after a bunch of pest insects and other life forms as well. Of course, the robin will very classically go after worms, but some of these other insects that I really want to focus on are certain types of true bugs, right? So true bugs, of course, could include some of the sap-sucking insects, aphids, or you know, the pest stink bugs, leaf-footed bugs, and there are a bunch of other species as well. Also on this list are the isopods, so like sow bugs or the pill bugs. And the robin will also go after slugs and snails, right? So that's a huge plus right there. Also termites. We have various caterpillar species, right, from certain butterflies, but also moths as well. And a lot of these moth species can be pretty substantial pests, especially when they're in their larval caterpillar type stage. The robin will also go after various species of flies, some beetles, right, some of which can also be agricultural pests, some spiders, and then the millipedes and centipedes. So we have this robin that is a pretty good generalist predator on the landscape, right? It's also a native species to North America, of course, as evidenced by the name. And I'm just really happy that I'm able to work with this species and facilitate its life and well-being on the landscape, and I'm able to get some of these benefits as well. Next up, we have the gray catbird, another native species. And again, this is a bird species that will find a sense of safety and sanctuary in this canopy of the sumac trees. But I've also noticed that this bird is really huge after going after the sumac berries, right? And it will pick apart those berry clusters like crazy. It seems to go after these berry clusters a lot more voraciously than a lot of other birds. But the gray catbird is also a very good predator, going after grasshoppers, and grasshoppers are a really huge pest. Relatively speaking, there aren't necessarily always a whole lot of natural predators out there in a lot of different landscapes for one reason or another, but the gray catbird is one that can actually prey upon these grasshoppers, right? So that's a huge plus. And then along with that whole thing, crickets are of course another food source as well. And then it will also go after various species of beetles, some millipedes, ants, spiders, true bugs, again, the gypsy moth. The gypsy moth can be another huge and very substantial agricultural pest, and the gray catbird can be a species that can help to keep this pest in control, right? And then we have various fly species and even some aphids as well that the gray catbird will consume. So again, we have another generalist predator that will go after a bunch of pretty substantial agricultural pests, especially when we're talking about the grasshoppers, the crickets, gypsy moth, some of these true bugs as well. So overall, I'm just really thrilled that I'm able to maintain the livelihood of these two species on the landscape, and I'm continuing to see more and more of these bird species each year as my garden landscape becomes a little bit more grown up, a little bit more biologically diverse. So it's just really great to see these benefits unfold. So thank you so much for checking out this video on the Staghorn sumac and how it can help with natural pest control by bringing in some of these beneficial bird species, right? And while some of these birds may peck at some of the seeds that we plant, overall they have a pretty substantial part in natural pest control, and I feel like the pros definitely outweigh the cons in this context. And it's a good feeling that I'm able to help facilitate the process of bringing in more life into the landscape to make the ecology more functional. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.